The Midnight Rider. The desert stretched out like a sea of shadows, painted silver by the full moon hanging in the velvet sky. Sagebrush whispered in the wind, and coyotes howled mournfully in the distance. Ironwood Gulch, the remote frontier town at the heart of this desolate land, was a place where secrets clung to the air like dust to boots. Tonight, every lantern in the town was extinguished, every door bolted tight. The Midnight Rider was coming. Jedediah Kane, a bounty hunter with a past blacker than a raven's wing, rode into Ironwood Gulch under the ominous glow of the moon. His boots hit the ground with a thud, stirring a plume of desert dust. Kane was a man carved from the grit of the frontier, scarred, hardened, and shadowed by ghosts he could never outrun. Whispers of the Midnight Rider had reached him 3 towns back. They said the rider was a phantom, a harbinger of death. But Kane wasn't one to believe in ghost stories. He'd come to Ironwood Gulch chasing a bounty, Elias Snake McGraw, a known killer with a $1,000 price on his head. The saloon door creaked as Kane stepped inside, his spurs jingling softly. A dozen pairs of eyes flicked his way before darting back to their drinks. The room was thick with tension, the kind that made even whiskey taste bitter. Kane approached the bar, his voice low and rough as sandpaper. Looking for McGraw, he said to the barkeep, a wiry man with a nervous twitch. Seen him? The barkeep hesitated, his gaze flicking toward a table in the corner where a man sat hunched over, his hat pulled low. Ain't my business, the barkeep muttered, sliding a bottle of whiskey toward Kane. Kane followed the barkeep's gaze. The man in the corner had a familiar slouch, the kind Kane had seen in 100 wanted posters. He adjusted the Colt revolver on his hip and strode across the room. McGraw, he said, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a knife. The man looked up, his face a mask of defiance and fear. You got the wrong man, he said, though his hand drifted toward the 6-shooter on the table. Kane didn't flinch. I don't miss. You want to test that? Before McGraw could answer, the saloon doors burst open. A chill swept through the room, colder than the desert night. A figure stood silhouetted against the moonlight, mounted on a coal-black horse. The Midnight Rider. Gasps rippled through the saloon as the figure dismounted, boots crunching on the wooden porch. The rider was clad in black from head to toe, their face obscured by a bandana and wide-brimmed hat. A silver revolver gleamed in their hand. McGraw bolted, overturning the table in his haste. It's him! It's the rider, he screamed, shoving past Kane and scrambling out the back door. Kane's instincts took over, and he followed, his revolver drawn. The night outside was eerily quiet, the only sound the frantic pounding of McGraw's boots against the dirt. Kane moved swiftly, his eyes scanning the shadows. He found McGraw cowering behind a water trough, his eyes wide with terror. Please, McGraw begged, don't let it take me. I'll do anything. You got a price on your head, McGraw, Kane said coldly. Ain't my concern what you believe. But before Kane could act, a shot rang out, sharp and deadly. McGraw collapsed, a crimson stain spreading across his chest. Kane spun around, his gun raised, but the Midnight Rider was already gone, their horse galloping into the darkness. The town buried McGraw the next day, but the whispers didn't die. Some said the rider was a ghost, come to claim the souls of the damned. Others believed they were flesh and blood, an avenger with a taste for justice. Kane wasn't sure what to believe, but he knew one thing, the rider's mark was no coincidence. That night, Kane found a note slipped under his door. The handwriting was scrawled and uneven like it had been scratched out in haste. Meet me at the Devil's Spine. Midnight. Bring your past with you. Kane's jaw tightened. The Devil's Spine was a jagged ridge of rock a few miles out of town, a place the superstitious townsfolk avoided. He folded the note and slipped it into his coat pocket. Whatever game the rider was playing, Kane intended to finish it. The moon hung high and full as Kane approached the Devil's Spine. Shadows danced across the rugged landscape, and the air was thick with an unnatural stillness. Kane dismounted, his boots crunching on the rocky ground. He kept his revolver drawn, every muscle in his body coiled like a rattlesnake ready to strike. You came, a voice said, low and raspy. Kane spun around, his gun trained on the figure that stepped out of the shadows. It was the Midnight Rider, their silver revolver glinting in the moonlight. "Who are you?" Kane demanded. "What do you want?" The rider chuckled, a sound that sent a chill down Kane's spine. "You don't recognize me, Jed?" Kane's breath caught in his throat. The voice was familiar, too familiar. "It can't be," he whispered. The rider reached up and pulled down their bandana, revealing a face Kane hadn't seen in over 20 years. It was his sister, Eliza, the sister he'd buried in his heart when their family was slaughtered in a massacre. "Eliza?" Kane's voice cracked, disbelief etched into every line of his face. "You left me, Jed," she said, her eyes blazing with anger and pain. "You ran while they burned everything we had. You let them take me." Kane's grip on his revolver faltered. "I thought you were dead." I didn't know." "You didn't stay to find out," she spat, her voice trembling with emotion. "I survived, Jed. I became stronger, and now I'm the judge and the jury for men like McGraw. Men like you." Kane took a step forward, his hands raised. "Eliza, listen to me. I didn't know. I was a boy, scared, stupid. But I'm here now. Let me help you." Eliza's hand tightened on her revolver. For a moment, it seemed like she might pull the trigger. But then she lowered the gun, her shoulders slumping. "You can't change the past, Jed. But maybe you can make amends." A howl echoed through the night, and both of them turned toward the sound. In the distance, figures on horseback were approaching, their torches blazing like fireflies. "They're coming for us," Eliza said, her voice grim. "Who?" Kane asked, his heart pounding. "The ones who killed our family," she replied, her eyes hard as steel. "I've been hunting them for years. Tonight, we finish it." Kane nodded, a fire igniting in his chest. He drew his second revolver and stood beside his sister, the siblings united at last. The Midnight Rider wasn't a ghost, it was vengeance incarnate, and tonight, justice would ride with them into the fray. The battle was fierce, gunfire lighting up the night like a thunderstorm. Kane and Eliza fought side by side, their bullets finding their marks with deadly precision. When the dust settled, the desert was silent once more, save for the labored breathing of the survivors. Eliza holstered her revolver, her face streaked with blood and soot. "We did it," she said, her voice soft. Kane looked at her, his heart heavy. "What now?" Eliza mounted her horse, her expression unreadable. "Now, I keep riding," she said. "There are still men out there who need to pay." "And me?" Kane asked. She met his gaze, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "You've got your own path, Jed. Just don't forget where you came from." As she rode off into the night, Kane stood alone under the silver moon, the weight of the past finally lifting from his shoulders. The Midnight Rider was gone, but her legend would live on, a reminder that in the unforgiving expanse of the frontier, justice was a horse that never tired. Join the adventure with the Western Echoes, Cowboy Tales Unleashed. If you're loving our cowboy stories and captivating tales, don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all our future posts. Saddle up and ride along with us.